When a new game launches, speedrunners often only have one thing on their mind. How can I make this faster? The Resident Evil series has become almost synonymous with speedrunning in recent years. This is due in part to the games often having an in-game timer, incentivizing replayability and being faster each time. For many, this is what got them into speedrunning in the first place. Every time a new Resident Evil game drops, as soon as the initial casual playthroughs are said and done, the race begins. For some, this is of no interest to them because the process for figuring out what makes a game fast is exhausting and not fun. But for me, it's exhilarating. My favorite part of speedrunning is and will always be routing a new release. This is because you get to be on the ground floor, cracking the game's code in real time and figuring out so much about how it works. It's been nearly a week since the game is launched and we already have learned so much. In this video, I'm going to break down some examples of how we as a community have cracked the code on Resident Evil Village, as well as how the process for optimizing a game is when it has just come out. Since the game is so new, we will not be covering the final two bosses, so this video can be watched without spoiling the whole game. We have also not routed them yet. Firstly, I think it's important for game knowledge to be obtained. This can only be done by playing through the game. Putting as much time into the game casually as possible creates a knowledge base to build from when routing the speedrun. Simply trying to start from zero will do you no good, so usually the first 3 days or so, people just try out the new modes, play the game, and get familiar. Once I beat Village of Shadows difficulty is when I decided I wanted to start helping with the routing process. Some people had already started making lists of every item location in the game, and other information, gathering as much as possible so that we don't miss any detail when crafting a potential route. The first step in helping out was to pick a category. Since the leaderboards will not be officially open until the 28th, I can only guess what categories there will be. This is a move that some of the expert moderators for the community have learned over the past couple years, delaying run submissions and even category creation for a few weeks until after the game is launched. This allows the community to come together and decide in mostly full context what the rules should be and how the game should be timed. In my experience though, I did know that some difficulties will have their own categories. And while watching Distortion 2, one of my friends, I was convinced that I wanted to start running Village of Shadows' new game. I didn't think it would be very fun at first, but over the course of the next 2 hours, I saw him slowly make the first fight more consistent. And this one being one of the hardest in my experience, I said, screw it, let's route Voss. Just like you should say screw it and finally subscribe. The first thing that you should know about Voss difficulty is that if you want to deal enough damage to the bosses to kill them, you essentially need to collect tons of items and ammo and not use any of it on the regular enemies. In most instances, even if you collect every piece of ammo and shoot no shots on anything but a boss, you will only just barely be able to kill them. In the early game, this is especially so since you haven't had much opportunity to collect items yet. The first sister in the basement is weak when you open the window. On Voss difficulty, she spawns 2 adds in, or additional enemies. Initially, when trying to route this fight, I thought it might be possible to just use the shotgun and stun her. Turns out, enemies in this game rarely ever stun on Voss difficulty, so this was out of the question. Routing bosses is some of the hardest things you can do, because knowing how each of them works can take a lot of time. This is where the cheaters come in. Well, more accurately, there are some people in the community who are really good with a program called Cheat Engine. More infamously used for cheating in multiplayer games, Cheat Engine reads memory data, and with a little trial and error, they manage to find out the values for the boss health and enemy HP, allowing for a more scientific approach to figuring out bosses. This is where the term lab comes from. To lab something means to go back to the lab again, and test things. Using Cheat Engine, you can test every attack at your disposal and do some simple math to see how much damage each thing does, then divide by that number to see how much ammo you need. In this instance, the mines do the most damage by far, and because the stun it adds, it becomes totally invaluable. Because of this realization, the early game needed to make a pit stop to grab a second mine from here. Crouching also makes some of her attacks totally miss, and sometimes it even bugs out her AI. This combined with shooting out the window to stun her can lead to a really fast fight. Here is the currently routed fight.
give up! Bare your teeth at us! I won't forgive you! You bastard! Not like this! Move your hands!
This is much faster than my casual fight by about 1 minute, as well as it's infinitely more consistent. The next fight I want to showcase is Lady D herself, so spoilers ahead. So when you stab her with this blade, she turns into a Bloodborne boss. Using Cheat Engine to see her HP, we found out something very interesting though. Damaging her head obviously does more damage, but also when she drops below 7,000 HP, when she flies away the first time, she just goes back to 7,000. So doing more damage than that actually is just a waste of ammo. Because of this, the fight starts opening up with the sniper, but then eventually uses the pistol until she flies away. This information is super vital to routing out this boss, but would only be known with this cheat engine reading. In order to have enough sniper ammo to actually kill her, we needed to use our lockpick here to get extra ammo, as well as grab the capacity upgrade and firepower at the merchant to give us another free clip. Even still, we need to craft 3 sets of ammo during the fight and not miss too much, else we completely run out of ammo. Lady D has a few phases as well, and her health never resets again after that initial one at 7k. But she does occasionally fly away, giving us ample time to unload on her. Being close to these alcoves is important though, as these bugs will quickly tear you to shreds if you aren't careful. Once her HP reaches 0, she isn't actually dead however. It plays a cutscene and you're whisked away into the final phase. In this phase, she gets up close and personal, and so does the speedrunner. There is always a shotgun ammo drop in this phase, and we use it to completely unload on the boss. This is where new tech was discovered. Capcom nerfed the shotguns in this game by making their fire rate extremely slow. This can actually be sped up by reloading a bullet on each shot. The animation for the reload is faster than shooting with it already reloaded. With these strats combined, the fight is brought down from an 8 to 7 minute fight to around 6 minutes. While not a whole lot is faster, it is way more consistent. The next fight is going to be a real big boy, however. Most of the routing for the earlier bosses came pretty easy, but over the course of the last few days, this boss has been made over 8 minutes faster. Moreau, aka Del Lago if we drain the water, has a whopping 26,000 hit points. That is more than triple what Lady D has. Anyone that has tried to beat Village of Shadows on New Game knows how insanely long this boss can take. My first completed fight on him took around 15 minutes. This massive chonker of a body takes so much damn punishment. Immediately when it came time to route this boss, we went straight to Cheat Engine to test everything that we could. We found out that mines did 300 damage, pipe bombs do 600, grenade launcher does 480, and the barrels in the fight do 1500. But what we immediately realized was the most important aspect of the fight is that his tongue takes 3 times the amount of damage that the body takes. And this includes everything besides grenade launcher and the pipe bomb. What a lot of people did on accident during their casual Voss playthrough, if even such a thing exists, was to get him stuck underneath this fermata. Fortunately, this is super consistent, however, it's also really fucking slow. The new strat, made as a group, but primarily routed by Distortion 2 himself, is to lure him across as many of the explosive barrels as possible, then unload on him with the grenade launcher while he has the best voice line in the game. Unlucky for Moreau, we've also been saving this one. By placing 9 mines in this spot, we could trigger the boss to hit his weak point against all of them at once. This deals triple damage on every mine at the same time. 300 damage times 3, and 9 of them, that's 1800 damage. That's about as much health as Lady D has in total. This strat has gone over several iterations over the past few days, but here's an example of the fastest one yet.
So, mines are better, even though explosives do a bit more damage, I think. I mean, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong about that, but... Okay, I'm not gonna shoot him anymore here. Yeah, okay, Demented, no worries. Sounds good. Okay, that's what we want. Good.
Finally, with the last boss I'm going to cover, Urius, you get to see a rare example of actually going out of your way to get the Magnum in a Resident Evil run. We spend about a minute and 45 seconds to grab the Magnum, its extra ammo, and upgrade it one more time so that we can make this boss fight faster. Originally, the fight was about 4.5 minutes long, sniping the beast in the face and using mines and pipe bombs to deal with his ads. 3 phases, each dropping an additional 2 to 3 lichens right on your face. This was really tough to try and survive, until we realized that Wolf's Bane is actually really good against Wolfmen. Who would have thought? Taking the time to get it and upgrade it with the extra ammo pays off right now. The fight goes as follows. Unload on his face with the Magnum, alternate to the sniper when the ads spawn, grenade launcher them, hoping it kills. After that, a flash round is used to stall the boss while pipe bombs are thrown. After all this punishment, the boss is almost dead, but one last wave of ads spawns, and taking them out with the pipe bomb finishes the fight. Here is the full fight at about 55 seconds.
That's not good.
Since it's only just half a week since the launch of the game, these strats are all subject to change, but I really just wanted to show how much progress can be made in such a short amount of time. It's so amazing waking up every day, and there's a ton of new stuff to learn about one of your new favorite games. A lot of rerouting has yet to come, I guarantee. By the time this category is under 2 hours, all of these fights will look totally different. Even as I speak, this out of bounds was found, and Bach is currently routing Fighting Lady D without the sniper. There is much to learn, and maybe you would like to join us. I will be streaming RE8 speedruns and routing daily for the next few weeks, and I'll put a link in the description to a bunch of other runners, especially the ones I showcased in this video. If you like my content, make sure to subscribe and support me on Patreon like these amazing degenerates here.